going to start down the actual meat and potatoes here. So make no mistake, this recent overturning hasn't been a remotely recent development. The evangelical right has been playing the long game in their campaign to overturn Roe v. Wade. The late Paul Weirich, which I don't know if it's Wyrick or Weirich, but I'm just going to say
Wyrick.
It's Wyrick. Okay.
Yeah, I knew a couple of Wyricks growing up.
And I think they say it in this video, which I did skim through and pre-watch, but I guess I just suck at remembering that. But anyway, the late Paul Wyrick, a religious conservative political activist and grandfather of modern religious conservatism, kicked this whole thing off by campaigning against Jimmy Carter in the late 70s and early 80s. Now, hold on before you go here, Mike. In the process of doing some more research, this is actually not where it started. It actually started with school segregation. So essentially, when the federal mandate to abolish school segregation happened, a bunch of freaked out racist white people started opening absurd amounts of private schools. And essentially, they would not allow black people into the private schools. Well, eventually, since most of these schools were touted as religious schools, Christian religious schools, mind you, eventually there was a later, it was pushed by Nixon specifically before Carter, and he really said, okay, if you're not going to allow any children into these schools, we are going to get rid of your tax-exempt status, period. And this is where the religious right, because they were religious schools, right, started saying, you are attacking our religious freedom, when in fact, they were just attacking racism. So please continue, Mike.
Can do. Well, this portion of things I did actually know already, starting as early as the 70s, 1970, he created the Heritage Foundation. Wyrick created the Heritage Foundation. The Free Congress Foundation, Committee for the Survival of a Free Congress, and the American Legislative Exchange Council, which are all large and powerful right-wing political organizations that push evangelical theology into U.S. politics, even to this day. The CSFC was instrumental in helping create the moral majority and was in regular close collaboration with Laszlo Pastor, a former leader of the pro-Nazi Arrow Cross Party in Hungary, which had collaborated with that one evil Austrian dude's Third Reich.
And this is where it really comes down to, is like, they, once again, and we're just reiterating a point, but it's important that we keep reiterating this. They are not actually for democracy. Like, they are for their religious right. They are for their team. That's an interesting little wiggle you got going there, Sloops.
I can't tell if that dude's bald or not.
I think he eventually is bald.
I mean, probably, but
let's give this a watch.
I mean, just that picture.
Now, many of our Christians have what I call
that's as loud as it goes.
Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now.
What's up?
I don't want everybody to vote.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's literally the title of the video. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
So, and we'll go into it after he's done here, but let me kick it back a little bit.
Majority of people, they never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
So the reason that he's saying that is because he's essentially banking on, and this is still the same platform that modern day religious conservatives work on, is they are hoping that their base, who is very, I mean, legitimately, they're very consistent at showing up to the polls, but it's a small group, right? So the more of the larger group, or the majority that votes, reduces the power of that small group. They want to control with a minority. So before he died, he argued that conservatives should be fighting to return to family structures of the 1950s, a goal that has been picked up by leaders after him.
In racial segregation or racial discrimination is not, by definition, a charitable institution.
The following year, President Richard Nixon ordered the IRS to enact new policy denying exemptions to all segregated schools. In 1971, the Green v. Connolly District Court case ruling upheld the new IRS policy, and evangelical leaders didn't like it, which is where Paul Wyrick re-enters our story.
Paul Wyrick finally found the issue that would get the attention of people like Jerry Falwell, who had his own segregation academy in Lynchburg, Virginia, Bob Jones Jr. of Bob Jones University, and a broader array of evangelical leaders.
Wyrick and Falwell managed to shift the grounds of the debate. They turned it into a conversation about government interference and religious freedom instead of what it really was, a defense of racist policies. They used the issue to attack Democratic President and evangelical Jimmy Carter, even though it was Republican President Richard Nixon who came down hard on segregation academies. Bob Jones University lost its tax exemption status a year and a day before Carter was inaugurated. So Wyrick had figured out how to win over evangelical leaders. But to win elections, he still needed an issue to get grassroots evangelical voters to the polls. He realized that defending racial discrimination might not be it. Now this is where the abortion debate comes in. Here's Falwell in 1982.
It began in January of '73 when the Supreme Court in Roe versus Wade ruled abortion legal on demand.
But pause. Balmer says evangelical leaders didn't pursue abortion as an issue right away.
Jerry Falwell, by his own admission, did not preach against abortion until February of 1978, more than 5 years after the Roe v. Wade decision of 1973. The key moment for abortion comes in the 1978 midterm elections.
So this one is kind of interesting because the religious right is like they're so adamant about this, they are willing to even go against their own evangelicals, which Jimmy Carter was a very clear-cut evangelical. He literally was reading Bible verses on a regular basis when he was giving his speeches and such.
Wyrick then resolved that he would,
Even as soon as Trump was starting to say anything that was against what the evangelicals would say, like his own supporters were turning against him too. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do want to point out, aren't evangelical Christians basically the Christian equivalent to religious extremism?
Pretty much, to an
Yes.
extent.
Can we just cut out the word evangelical from the English lexicon and just make it extremist?
Here's the thing about that, and this is coming from someone who was an evangelical at one point. I was, but I am no longer part of that. Yeah, I was. And I'll explain why. Here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing about that though. The evangelicals, they often think that a lot of the things that go on, even the stuff that's not even relevant to what the Bible says, they will take it as some sort of a sign that the end times are coming. Like, for example, they think that certain music summons demons, or D&D summons demons and brings forth the devil, and the list goes on, which I'm sure some of you have heard before. So that's
the Satanic Panic,
particularly new. Yeah, exactly. Yes, and when I was being transformed into them, I had a guy tell me that certain music that I was listening to back then was considered a demonic music simply because of what the band name was, what the lyrics were, even though despite the fact that it's all for show and they actually really don't mean any of this, and some of it even has a story behind it. Like, for example, they looked up Avenged Sevenfold because that used to be my favorite band back in my high school years.
They were everybody's favorite in high school.
Yes. So, and there was a song that they wrote called God Hates Us All, because they did, and the person that told me that this was demonic because simply for the fact it says that God hates us all. But the reason why they actually wrote that was because their manager died. He died tragically, and they were very close to their manager, and they felt lost without him. So they felt like they were pissed at the world, and they just felt like that everything was just going wrong for them. That's why they wrote that. It was to express how they felt. They didn't actually say that God hated us. That's just how they felt. See, like I said, they easily misconstrue things. And even if you try, and not to mention, they will also say that politics and religion go together, but also at the same time, Christians aren't supposed to vote, because if you vote for a certain candidate, you develop a soul tie with that candidate. And I actually argued that point before. I was like, so if if I'm in class and I have to vote between pepperoni pizza and sausage pizza, and I vote for pepperoni, I have a soul tie to pepperoni pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I think it's
not meant to make sense.
So
Exactly.
actually,
of course not.
I'm curious. So I feel like that's almost like a common experience that people have had, like in high school. Because I literally had somebody sit me down. That was a friend of mine. His father sat me down because I really liked the song "Aerials" by System of a Down, and he literally like made me sit down and listen to the song with him, and he explained to me why it was against the Christian faith and like why um, I needed to look at the meaning of the song and why it was like basically satanic worshiping.
hmm Yeah, and now here is the thing. But they are, but however, but to play devil's advocate here, they're not 100% incorrect though about music, because there is music that is literally called satanic death metal. So
Yeah, it's fucking metal.
Yeah.
You don't
Right,
need to tell
exactly.
me that shit. It's my favorite
Right.
style of music.
Well, and once
Yeah,
again, who fucking cares, you fucking nerds? Like, not you
exactly.
guys, but like I'm saying,
We're
I will
nerds, dude. You can say it.
I will never accept that evangelicals and highly religious people aren't religious nerds. Like they literally ridiculously just pine over these texts and try to use postmodern interpretations of ancient books when the books weren't written in the modern age. They didn't write those texts in the postmodern sense. They didn't even understand postmodern interpretation in the freaking Iron Age, which is when, essentially the New Testament was, came to fruition. And it's like the Bronze Age is when the Old Testament was, came to be. And it's like, guys, you're taking a postmodern interpretation of something, of a text that was written prior to anyone knowing what the fuck postmodern thought was. Most people in that age didn't even know how to read, period. So I'm just saying, like, like the entire basis for all of these kind of theologians that try to take postmodern interpretations of a Bronze and Iron Age text is a fucking worthless profession. It is worthless. It makes no sense whatsoever. The only thing that theology is useful for, or a theological major, or whatever, is for just cataloging the actual texts, cataloging the history of it. That is useful, but like taking this postmodern interpretation is silly. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of times that yeah, like, and I also remember that they would they would also, like, I remember that I seen these videos of like certain like world leaders, like they were trying to make a speech of some sort. Like there was this one that this guy was trying to I think it had something to do with I can't remember what it was, but apparently what happened was, in mid sentence his voice all of a sudden got lost, and they took that as God punishing that guy by taking his tongues away because he was speaking blasphemy against the
Wow.
Holy Spirit. Like that kind of thing. Like I said, even if it's something that is completely irrelevant to what they're talking about, they will take it as a sign of some sort of a prophecy.
Right. It's
That's how it works.
that's the whole puddle analogy, right? Like they take it as prophecy, but really it's kind of like that analogy of the puddle says, "Wow, this hole was made perfectly for me." When it's like, no, you're a puddle and you just formed to be in the the environment that you were poured into. But I want
And
to
not
address Almond's question here, and I think I did say that, but I said it quickly here. Is yes, I do agree that theological study, just to try to understand the past and to understand theology or religions of the past, or kind of like study that from a historical perspective, is useful. But the thing that I'm saying is like these universities and I'm saying this very loosely in this case, but like these schools of thought, like the answers in Genesis, and some of these just really wacky preachers in that, like Joel Osteen, for example, which is like a pretty well-known name. It's useless, and it's literally charlatanism. Like to even say that there's a useful anything for what those people do. And once again, what we're talking about, taking a postmodern interpretation of a Bronze and Iron Age text, you're worthless. You're literally just making shit up. You might as well, you have as much credibility as freaking Joseph Smith, who is literally making shit up. He was known
Dum
for
dum
making
dum
shit
dum
up.
dum.
So I'm just saying,
Thank you.
it's
Somebody knows it.
but we need
Joseph
to.
Smith, he was a prophet. Dum 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 dum.
So I want to continue on with this video, because we do have a lot of stuff to get through.
Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to quickly add on too. The most funniest thing though is they also will even take dreams, just random dreams, as a prophecy sign. Like, for example, there was this woman who apparently had a dream that she saw death, the entity of death himself, ride a speedboat. Get ready for this. I'm not making this up. The entity of death was riding a speedboat, and then following behind him on a ski was Barack Obama. And here's what she got from this. Get ready. Yeah, Obama. That not only did they confirm that Barack Obama was the Antichrist, but it also predicted that because when the 2016 election was happening, that was also planned that Obama's true form, the Antichrist, would reveal himself and steal the election and gain political power, which would then start the Great Tribulation.
Yeah, that's
Obamacare.
Yeah,
straight up QAnon nonsense.
And what's also funny about that, in the Bible, in the book of John, there is a verse that says to do not listen to dreams. And there's a scientific explanation as to why the book of John says do not listen to dreams, because it's random neurons firing in your brain when you sleep. It's common.
Just making shit up. Just hey.
Yeah. There's a scientific explanation for that. They even figure it out. Like, dreams. Well, that's not always that. A lot of times dreams are just random. Yeah, because again, random. There is a scientific explanation. When you dream, when you are asleep, your memory, when you enter REM sleep, your neurons are on overtime because they're recollecting the memories, everything that you've learned. And while they're and when random firing happens in your neurons in your brain, it causes you to dream. And that's what sometimes you'll get dreams like you're probably in a school with no clothes on. That's because random neurons of your memory are being fired at random moments, causing these dreams to not make sense half the time. That's why the book of John says, do not listen to the dreams. No man will not know what day or the hour of the Great Tribulation. And here's these evangelicals trying to predict the end of the world every other freaking week.
When the book of John was written, they didn't understand that. Like, I'm just saying, like, I get what you're getting at there, but like you're giving way too much credit, because I'm just saying.
I didn't mean to do that. I was saying like there's a scientific explanation. No, I was not giving him credit for it. I'm just saying there is a scientific explanation behind that.
So what I was trying to get at is like many prophets, by the way, many prophets specifically in the Bible, and definitely in definitely in the Quran. Hey guys, Muhammad was tripping in a cave, guys. Like there's I'm just saying, like, these motherfuckers will like literally be like, "Oh, I'm gonna worship this person," when it's like, dude, they didn't understand neuroscience, and they were
No,
literally
they
just
did.
like huffing, desert herbs and just tripping their balls off, and then taking
Hmm.
that as like some divine precedent, and they didn't
Right.
understand any better. So like, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, to them it absolutely was like a very moving and beautiful experience, and there is in fact, like in the Quran specifically, some moving experiences. And we're getting a little bit off track because we're talking about the religious right in the US, which is Christianity, but it moves even to like people like freaking Paul, which is the whole basis for, like, one of the bigger bases for the Christian religion is Paul's vision of this essentially floating ghost Jesus on his road, what is it, to Damascus, when he sees this vision. And it's like, Paul, for all we know, Paul could have just been like bored on his, on his walk, and just freaking huffing some herbs, and is all like, "Oh yeah, I freaking saw this Jesus guy, and man, that was a crazy ride, bro." Like, I'm
Write,
just saying,
write,
it's just so freaking bizarre that people even
write that shit down.
That
I'm
shit
just saying,
down.
it's like so bizarre that, first off, we're going to believe some complete nonsense from some guy that was from freaking forever ago, like I said, in the Iron Age. But beyond that, we know that back then they saw tripping the balls on various substances to like be almost like the oracle from Greek or Roman times. I mean, they saw that as like actual prophecies. So it blows my mind that people take so much credit out of these ancient people. It's like, guys, they didn't understand shit about the mind. Like, you're taking interpretations of shit that just absolutely makes no sense to take that interpretation. But we need to get to this video. I've gone too
Christians
far on
be
a tangent.
tripping.
To be fair, those people also probably don't understand the mind either. So
That's probably a good interpretation.
Because they were taught not to think for themselves or to think freely. That's why.
And I can be compassionate with that because it's indoctrination, right? So like
Christians
many of
don't
these
like free
people,
thinkers.
these people, truthfully, and I'm not saying this is like a bad thing, I'm compassionate about it, because I went to Catholic school. I did believe in a deity at some point. You are indoctrinated into this. You, in many ways, don't have the capability of pushing past that groupthink unless you get out of the group and do your own research, and are able to. And when I say do your own research, the best way of getting out of Christianity is actually sitting down and understanding and reading the Bible. Like, that right in and of itself converts more people to a not overly religious mindset, beyond ever reading anything from like Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins. But let's continue with who Paul Wyrick is, because that's important for what we're talking about today, specifically about Roe v. Wade. And sorry for the tangent there, but I think that was some important discussion. Thank you for that, everybody.
Go out and elect some improbable people.
Wyrick threw all his effort into getting anti-abortion Republican candidates elected in Minnesota and Iowa.
The final weekend of the campaign, pro-lifers leafleted church parking lots. And 2 days later, in an election with a very low turnout, all 4 Democratic nominees lost to pro-life Republicans.
That's where Wyrick realized abortion was the issue he could use to bring evangelicals to the polls, and maybe even turn them against one of their own: President Jimmy Carter. Before he was elected, Jimmy Carter was a Southern Baptist Sunday school teacher.
And what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly and to love?
I hate
He
to interrupt,
embodied-
but I
So-
think they have a very good point there, which is there are many right-sided or Republican candidates that actually don't believe in abortion that are willing to use it as a tool to get the evangelical vote, just so they can get into office. Like, because when it comes down to it, if they really want an abortion, they'll just go get it.
Right. I mean, if you're to that level or that power, I mean, it just you have enough resources to where it's not a big deal for you. You can essentially move past the rules, you know.
The rules do not apply to me; they apply to thee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, self-righteousness, which is supposed to be a sin.
So I'm just saying, we just recently heard that, what is it, that Jesse Lee Peterson guy, that very religious dude was straight up just having gay sex all the time, which good for him. I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm just saying he was. I'm not kink shaming. I'm saying good for him. Keep on having the butt sex, bro. Keep on throating that cock. But I'm just saying, seriously, this guy was just like anti-gay in his rhetoric on his multiple media channels, and that it's like, it is just inherently often very hypocritical to have these stances where you're radically against something. It's like you guys are always going to do that. You're just trying to push this to kind of enact power.
Sometimes I almost think that might be the kink, is to be like, no, you can't be doing that, and like to like naysay it, and then just like behind closed doors, you either throw some dick, or you're like, I'm gonna be a cuck and watch my wife get fucked by somebody else, and then I'll abort the baby later.
Once again, go do that. Like, I'm not here saying don't do that, but I will ridicule people when they're just like literally persecuting other people and just spreading this hateful rhetoric, and they're the, like, you know, like essentially the throat goat, you know? Like, it's like, come on, guys, like, what the fuck are you doing? Ridiculous.
Idea of progressive evangelicalism and won the presidential election in 1976. In 1979, Falwell created a group called the Moral Majority, but the term was actually coined by Wyrick. The Moral Majority declared war on abortion and homosexuality. Then the group enlisted the help of Francis.
Look at this dude.
What the fuck is that guy? Is he wearing grills? I saw a glint in his mouth. Is he seriously got gold teeth or something?
Wow.
He's like Pimp Daddy Colonel Sanders or something.
Yeah, that's a look right there. But let's be fair, it is the 70s. The 70s was a different time.
Yeah, he actually does look like he does look like he knows what the 9 secret spices are.
It's 11 herbs and spices, and I can list them for you.
11 herbs and spices, sorry.
Oh, man.
They are not really a secret anymore. It's been out for a long time.
Schaefer worked with C. Everett Koop to produce a series of films called Whatever Happened to the Human Race, and toured the country screening them for evangelical audiences. Here's what the films looked like.
The fact that human life is being devaluated is...
Look at those. He's got capris on right now.
He's wearing capris, knee-high socks, and buckled shoes like a fucking pilgrim.
Not gonna lie, this guy actually would make a pretty good modern-day hippie, probably.
He would make an excellent modern-day pilgrim.
Oh my goodness, man. This guy is... Okay.
Demonstrated by some of the major issues which are being debated by society today. Abortion, infanticide, euthanasia.
And as that series of films,
he's like, hey guys, where are we gonna have this shot where we talk about euthanasia and this? Let's go on the
set of Waterworld.
Yeah, let's sit on a pipe, bro. And by the way, let's get a baby carriage and just fucking throw it over there.
Hey, you know the opening scene of Terminator? There's your shot.
I feel like that baby carriage actually wasn't there when they filmed this.
Yes,
originally, like not originally, but like they placed the baby carriage there. That was intentional. They found the rubbish and then they added the baby carriage, and they're like, all right, here's the shot.
On their way to filming, they just decided they saw a woman pushing a carriage down the street and like, there it is, get her.
They're all like, this'll pull at the heartstrings. Oh yeah.
begins to travel and circulate across North America, evangelicals become finally attuned to the abortion issue in advance of the 1980 presidential campaign.
Ronald Reagan courted conservative evangelicals, and he won their support despite the fact that he signed a bill making it easier for women to have abortions back when he was the governor of California. Here he is employing explicitly religious language in his acceptance speech.
Can we begin our crusade? Join together in a moment of silent prayer.
So
Okay, I think it's bedtime for Bonzo, you guys.
So I'm just saying that it's kind of interesting that Ronald Reagan, of all people, would be trying to claim that he's like this super hyper religious guy when Nancy Reagan was the literal throat goat. Like, she was known for slobbering on yeah. I'm just saying, like, she was literally
I didn't know about
renowned.
Those.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Renowned.
She was renowned in the Hollywood scene for
that
slobbing the knob, being very good at it.
I had no idea that Nancy Reagan was such a good dick sucker.
Oh, yes.
Is she still actually question? Is she still alive? Not like I'm trying to look her up or nothing.
If she is, I'm just saying, without teeth, it's probably better. I'm just, hey,
I mean, take it from Lance. He knows what it's like to give a good gummer.
Good for her. Keep it on, Nancy. Keep going. I'm saying, but at the same time, you can't be a hypocrite and just be pushing this religious shit. That's really what the point is. I want Nancy to continue pleasuring people and spreading the love. Keep it on, Nancy. But man,
a salute to Nancy Reagan for giving the best damn Hummer you've ever heard of. Everyone salute to Miss Nancy Reagan.
Acceptance speech.
Can we begin our crusade?
I feel like I should be standing.
Join together in a moment of silent prayer.
Reagan is a man who wasn't even a regular church attendee. Yet during his presidential campaign, he
Reagan's church. There she is.
spoke to 10,000 evangelicals at a rally
She's
in
got the
Dallas,
pearl
Texas.
necklace and everything.
He talked about the unconstitutional regulatory agenda.
If you look really close on her right cheek, you can see a little splatter that he left the previous night.
That was the pearl necklace joke. But
hey, they're married.
Actually,
So I'm just saying, like, that
I mean,
is
they're married,
within
so
the
it
sanctity
follows
of
the
marriage.
Christian doctrine. So,
Isn't that sodomy though? Like, I thought sodomy was like anything that was
considered
not
sodomy,
procreation. So.
Yeah, I mean that's the textbook definition of sodomy.
You're only supposed to be doing one thing on your knees when it comes to Christianity. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
and praying, that is, yeah.
IRS
Or
against
unless you're an altar boy.
independent schools, aka segregation academies.
He mentions creationism. He also mentions the Internal Revenue Service going after the tax-exempt status of segregation academies. He does not mention abortion in the course of that speech. So even as late as August 1980, the Republican Party was not sure that abortion would work for them as a political issue.
Listen, there are a number of reasons Reagan won the election, but he very well might have tapped into something that Trump and Steve Bannon utilized decades later.
In the 2016 election, 81% of white evangelicals voted for Donald Trump, a man who, at least on the face of it, does not seem to be a logical representative for family values. Evangelicals have been able to persuade, at least themselves, that they are victims of some sort of religious discrimination.
Christianity, it's under siege.
Farmer also says there are parallels between the beginnings of the religious right and the rhetoric that Donald Trump used during his presidential campaign.
The 2016 election allowed
Stormy Daniels.
the religious right finally to circle back to the founding principles of their movement. And the founding principles, sadly enough, are racism and racial segregation.
Hey.
So, please, Dylan, continue on in the doc there, because we're going to continue with what they were talking about there.